I don't want to give up on this, even if we don't know what this is.
Jess and Nick are the central couple around which the world of New Girl revolves.
Good night, Mom.
Good night, Dad.
They're the show's version of Ross and Rachel. It's Sam and Diane. It's Jim and Pam. From the very start, we're led to see them as yet another in a long line of soulmate sitcom couples. However, while Jess and Nick begin down this well-trodden path, they take several detours along the way. Rather than a tense will they won't they that lingers over the show, we find out very quickly that they will. Then it seems they can't.
I love you.
Jess and Nick's romance lasts less than a season at first, and it's far from the happily ever after we'd been conditioned to expect.
Do you ever miss when we were just friends, Jess?
It's only after they've separated, spent some time dating other people, and worked on themselves that they're finally able to be together for real. Jess and Nick's romance is one we can take lessons from to apply to our own relationships, where destiny often matters less than determination.
But what I think is crazier is trying to plan every single detail of our future.
I think it's crazy not to.
Here's our take on what New Girl's Jess and Nick can teach us about building a successful romance, even if at first you don't succeed.
It's you and me. It's always been you and me.
If you're new here, be sure to subscribe and click the bell to get notified about all our new videos. This video is brought to you by Skillshare, an online learning community where millions of people come together to take classes that fuel their creative journey. The first 1,000 people to use the link in our description will get a free trial of Skillshare Premium membership. So become a member today and start exploring your creativity for less than $10 a month.
You can't escape destiny. She comes for us all, that relentless bitch.
We romanticize destiny, the idea of the one, of love at first sight, of couples that are meant to be. And from early on, Jess and Nick appear to be one of those.
Jess, I was joking.
Destiny is more than just great chemistry and sexual tension, it's an inescapable force.
I just wasn't feeling it.
What's it?
It's obvious. It's, it's magic.
What?
A little bit of the magic.
Not only do Jess and Nick seem to feel this about each other from the second she moves into his loft, their friends and fellow roommates sense it too.
Who did you tell me was your perfect man?
Walter Matthau, grumpy old man, and I could be girl Jack Lemmon.
He's a total math out.
Throughout, their relationship is alluded to as predestined and almost inevitable.
To whoever you are, can't wait to meet you, and I hope you live close by.
It's in these moments that New Girl tips its hat to that archetype of the classic sitcom couple.
I don't want to be single, okay? I just want to be married again.
But shows like Friends tend to believe in their perfect central couple, presenting conflicts and challenges to their love, but never losing faith that they will end up together.
With us, it's never off the table.
By openly questioning and occasionally mocking Jess and Nick's seemingly predestined romance, New Girl subverts this expectation.
Do we start now, or later, or now?
Congratulations, I see you've met the one.
And by having them get together only to fall apart again and be happy about it, it leaves us questioning whether that destiny is even real. It's a postmodern approach to romantic storytelling that self-consciously draws attention to the traditional beats of their relationship, while also foregrounding the messy lives that complicate them.
Blah, 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 blah.
But while it acknowledges its artifice, New Girl doesn't take a cynical approach to romance. Rather, it acknowledges the natural conflict between destiny and a complex world full of imperfect people who aren't defined by their relationships and who maybe aren't ready to fulfill it just yet.
Being a teacher was all I ever wanted to do. It just sucks,
Yeah. Life sucks.
Nick and Jess show us that fulfilling your destiny sometimes means putting it on hold. If Jess and Nick are destined to be, why is it that when they finally do get together, it doesn't work?
I love you.
Well, I love you too.
More than I've ever loved anybody.
But what if that's the only thing we have in common?
After all, they make each other laugh, they obviously care about each other, they have one of TV's all-time great first kisses.
Good night, Nick.
Good night.
But once they try to formalize their relationship, something's just not right. All their natural chemistry disappears.
It seems like a date.
You've been thinking it's a date this whole time?
I'm just asking.
How embarrassing for you. No, for me, it's just hanging out in a suit, getting champagne with my friend.
Ultimately, their first stab at a relationship fails because the timing isn't right. When they first get together, Nick is still a slobby, unambitious bartender who doesn't even have a bank account.
But what if you paid some of those bills with the money you just got?
Yeah, I'm gonna pay my bill. And then what's next? I'm gonna go to the doctor and get a checkup.
Jess is a little more put together, but her life is still in flux. She's lost her teaching job, taking on a bunch of dead-end part-time gigs just to get by. It's revealing that the first thing Jess and Nick do when they decide they're all in is to run as far as possible from their actual lives.
Remember when we lived in that loft and we had all those problems?
Yeah.
Despite committing to one another, they're not committed to themselves, meaning their personal problems inevitably end up getting in the way. Nick, despite his certainty about loving Jess, is still holding a part of himself back.
Hey, should we take a break and talk about our childhoods or something?
I mean,
No?
Of course, not only is the timing not right for the characters, it may not have been right for the show either. As the creators discussed, there was a lot of internal conflict over when and whether to bring Jess and Nick's relationship to a head.
We table read it without that kiss at the end of that one episode, and you had been saying for weeks, we should do it, and we said no, and we were wrong.
Lamorne Morris, who plays Winston in the show, admitted that the writers thought they may have jumped the gun by getting Jess and Nick together too early. The relationship was openly criticized as evidence of the so-called moonlighting curse, coined around the classic Bruce Willis-Sybil Shepherd sitcom that ran out of steam shortly after its own star-crossed characters got together.
You know it and I know it. You feel it and I feel it.
In a typical critique of New Girl's romantic plot leap, Vulture's Amanda Dobbins called Jess and Nick's relationship mortifying, saying, despite the tension running through seasons 1 and 2, Nick and Jess are better at shouting than they are at Smurf roleplay.
Why don't you go back in your room and put on your stupid flannel and keep not living up to your potential?
You're a crazy person, Jess!
But while there were behind-the-scenes reasons for why Nick and Jess's relationship imploded before it had barely begun, there's also something more universal about why it didn't work. They may have been ready to love each other, but they weren't ready to truly know each other, or more importantly, to know themselves.
Over the next 1,000 minutes, your notions of dating will be challenged. Jess, just listen, no notes.
One way New Girl stands apart from other sitcoms is how much space it gives to the other relationships Jess and Nick have, treating each of them respectfully and not as temporary obstacles. When Jess and Nick first meet, they've both been recently hurt.
Your face, Spencer.
Hello, Caroline. I still love you so much.
Helping each other get over their exes proves foundational to their friendship. In the pilot, Nick pretends to be Jess's boyfriend after she's stood up.
We're her boyfriends. We are reverse Mormons. One man just isn't enough for her.
By the third episode, Jess is pretending to be Nick's girlfriend to make his ex-girlfriend Caroline jealous.
Look at my new boyfriend, so fancy in his big boy tie.
But even after their flirtation has turned sincere, they continue in these supporting roles, with Jess usually trying to befriend Nick's romantic partners, even when they suspect or openly resent her for it.
You're the really fun teacher girl with all the colorful skirts and you bake things. And eventually Nick is gonna come running to you and you'll tuck him in under his blankie.
And even after their own relationship has run its course, Jess and Nick never try to sabotage each other's new romances. They still play each other's wingman.
I just had to make sure these animals flush.
Oh.
Not you, you fastidious queen.
Oh, you must be Nick.
Well, friends call me Gay Nick.
Unusually, each of them genuinely wants the other to be happy, and both they and the show allow for the possibility that it just might be with someone else.
And he's above 6 feet tall, which I know means a lot to you. And he makes you happy, and so I think it's time for me to stop coming in between you guys.
By creating this space to explore other relationships, both Jess and Nick are able to grow and learn more about themselves. With the hard-working lawyer, Julia, Nick is forced to confront his irresponsibility.
She doesn't think I can take care of a regular plant.
Well, you can't.
Any idiot can take care of a cactus. Winston, she thinks I'm an idiot.
Conversely, dating the slacker Kai prompts him to realize he does have some ambition after all.
I'm really sorry about Kai. She seemed like a great girl, but on the bright side, in all your years on this planet, has anyone ever dumped you for working too hard?
No.
And dating the sexually confident, extroverted Angie pushes Nick outside of his comfort zone, forcing him to finally open up.
I couldn't just put myself out there all the time. It's too scary. I'm very poor. Having a checking account would be an honor. I'm a writer. I've written a zombie book. It's terrible.
Outside of Jess, Nick's most serious love interest is arguably Reagan, the pharmaceutical sales representative who moves into the loft while Jess is on jury duty.
That is a perfect old-fashioned.
I know.
Reagan is introduced as a typical male fantasy. She makes Nick's favorite cocktail in a way that borders on erotic. Her revelation that she once had a brief fling with Cece is openly fetishized.
And then we hooked up.
Yeah, that's true too.
Then there's the fact that she's played by Megan Fox. But over time, the fact that she remains so idealized and elusive actually starts to bother Nick, and he begins to see that what he wants and deserves is something more intimate and real.
I basically just help women realize that they could do a lot better.
Stop it, Nick! I'm tired of you being the only person who doesn't see how incredible you are.
Jess also dates a lot of different types of men throughout the show, many of them reflecting her own lack of self-confidence about who she is and what she really wants.
I have to go on this date right now, and I can't do it. I'm freaking out, okay? I need all of you to sit in front of me and tell me what guys like in bed.
Paul, the sweet, sensitive, extremely safe teacher she dates immediately after her breakup with Spencer, is a nice guy, but he's mostly just training wheels for a real boyfriend.
My belly's wanting something to buy me out a pumpkin in every gobble gobble way.
The same can be said of Jess's later decision to settle for Robbie, a nice, objectively great guy with whom, nevertheless, she has zero spark, possibly owing to the fact that as they find out, they're third cousins.
I'll see you around.
Maybe at the next family reunion.
Too soon.
A little too
Yep.
soon.
Russell, the urbane, sophisticated older man, is the first to make Jess realize that she wants something more fiery and passionate out of a relationship.
Jess, I've already done the crazy, explosive passion thing when I was with Uli. It was like edging closer and closer to a wood chipper.
She gets it with the kind, handsome British teacher Ryan. But when Ryan moves home to England and he lets their long-distance relationship wither, Nick reminds Jess that ultimately passion is meaningless without commitment.
The only thing that matters is if the guy is there for you when you need him. Otherwise, you're dating a wall.
There's very little consistency in Jess's choices, although notably, none of them feel similar to Nick. Instead, Jess always seems to adapt to the boyfriend she's with at the time, as though she's trying out different versions of herself.
I feel like I'm an ambassador or a spy or like a really high-class prostitute.
Well, Jess, it's a political fundraiser. Who's to say you can't be all three?
Of all the guys who aren't Nick that she dates, Jess has her most meaningful connection with Sam. Much like Nick and Reagan, their relationship is initially loose and carefree, part of a wilder phase that begins with Jess lying about who she is, then the two of them entering into something purely sexual and no strings attached.
And we can still tear each other apart. What do you think?
You know what? I'm gonna say yes. I think, yeah, let's do this.
But eventually they develop genuine feelings for each other and begin seriously dating not once, but twice. In the end, the only thing that keeps them apart is, well, that destiny. Sam realizes he's in love with his own literal Diane.
No, I get it. You're in love with Diane. She's beautiful, she's your best friend, you're both doctors.
And Sam helps Jess realize that although she might be capable of loving someone else, she knows deep down that she's truly in love with her own best friend.
Jess, why couldn't you marry me?
Oh, I don't know.
Come on, Jess, you know.
What is it?
It's Nick.
Of all of Nick Miller's philosophies, maybe the most contradictory is this.
Possible sex is the only reason people stay friends with their exes.
After all, he and Jess are not only friends after they break up, their friendship is actually allowed to blossom and grow once it's removed from all sexual tension.
Just be yourself, and if he's not into Jessica Day, then there's something wrong with him.
Jess and Nick may not have been great together, but they're great at being each other's exes. The space they give each other, when combined with the intimacy of having already been in a relationship, allows them to develop a uniquely strong bond that's based in genuine affection and honesty.
My love for Nick exists, so it has to come out somewhere. If you put water in Bugs Bunny's hole, it's gonna shoot out some other hole where Elmer Fudd least expects it.
GQ's Delia Kai writes, "You can't be good exes with someone until you've fully embraced the ex aspect of that label. And this is one of the main reasons Jess and Nick manage to cope so well. Their breakup is amicable, mutual, and done for all the right reasons, namely to recapture and preserve their friendship."
I miss my friend.
I really miss my friend too.
Despite the inevitable awkwardness that comes with living with your ex, they work through it together and confront those challenges head on.
Are we still allowed to see each other naked?
Yes.
Do you think so?
I don't know.
Because they've gone through one together, they're also able to help with each other's relationship dilemmas. Again, in GQ, psychotherapist Lori Gottlieb argues that ex-partners are uniquely qualified to give dating advice, saying, "Your friends have never been in an intimate relationship with you, so they don't know all the stuff that you do, but your ex does, and your ex can give you some really good, loving feedback."
Well, maybe when things are going good, you get scared and you look for reasons to doubt it.
Often, relationships and friendships are viewed as an either-or situation.
Well, I think it's safe to say that our friendship is effectively ruined.
We weren't that close anyway.
But New Girl shows that they can be deeper and more fluid than that, and not just when it comes to Jess and Nick. Schmidt and Cece's relationship begins as purely physical before they forge a much stronger platonic relationship.
Look, I know this is kind of dumb to say, but I really like being your friend.
I like being your friend too.
Winston and Allie start out as literal partners on the police force, then become friends, and only then do they begin seeing each other romantically.
You've been a cop 5 years today, and I know how much that means to you. So, congratulations. I am very proud of you.
In the end, Nick and Jess, Schmidt and Cece, and Winston and Allie all end up happily paired off, affirming that a good relationship simply can't exist without a good friendship first. Over the course of the series, each of New Girl's characters undergoes a remarkable personal journey. Schmidt evolves from arrogant, douche-jar-stuffing bachelor to committed stay-at-home dad. Winston goes from directionless, unlucky-in-love ex-athlete to married cop. Coach changes from a guy who can't talk to women into someone who moves across the country just to be with his new girlfriend. Cece not only marries Schmidt and starts a family, she finds her true calling in running a modeling agency. And for each of them, there is a direct correlation between realizing their true potential and finding happiness in a relationship. This is also true for Nick and Jess. It's only after Nick has written his detective novel, The Pepperwood Chronicles, realizing his dream of becoming a successful author, that he can finally fully confront his feelings for Jess.
Jessica Knight is the whole reason Pepperwood gets out of bed every day.
Jess, too, is in a much better place this second time around. She's now the principal of her school, achieving her own dream job.
Being principal's great, but unlike being vice principal, now the buck stops with me.
Both of them have become the best versions of themselves, and they can finally bring those best selves to each other.
Oh, come on, please go faster. I gotta tell my best friend I'm in love with her.
Psychologist Abraham Maslow described the concept of self-actualization this way. A musician must make music, an artist must paint, a poet must write, if he is to be ultimately at peace with himself. He defined self-actualization as a process. A person is always becoming who they are truly meant to be, and Jess and Nick show the importance of committing to this process before committing to each other, of realizing their own individual destinies, or at least recognizing what that destiny even is, before their romantic destiny can be fulfilled.
Hey, Miller.
Hey.
The makeshift family we see in New Girl is remarkably malleable. They're friends and lovers, surrogate parents and bickering siblings, hype men, or voices of reason, all depending on what the others need from them.
When I pass out, you comb my hair so there's no knots in it. That's what a husband does. So guess what? You're gonna be a great husband to Cece because you're a great husband to me.
For a romance to really work, you often have to be all those things for your partner too. Jess and Nick support each other like good friends, they fight like siblings, and they take care of each other like an old married couple.
I'm your emotional fluffer. I'm there whenever you need a guy. You want a cup of tea? I'll make it. You lose your phone? I'll call.
They're soulmates in a way that transcends the romantic myth of love at first sight, and instead shows the importance of time, patience, and gaining different perspectives when it comes to finding the one.
This thing has been 10 years in the making, and everything about the proposal has to be perfect, and I'll know when the time is right.
Much more than your standard will they, won't they, Nick and Jess's love story is a far more complex question of when they should and who they should be when they do. It's one we can all take a lesson from, whether we believe in destiny or not.
Nick, you have been in love with this girl from the moment you opened the door and you first laid eyes on her.
When it comes to love, it's important to take your time, forge a genuine friendship, and become the person you want to be first, the person your other half probably always saw.
And I want to have babies and eat good food and laugh and take care of each other, and I want it to start tonight.
Hi everyone, I'm Susanna.
I'm Deborah, and we're the creators of The Take.
Please subscribe and tell us what you want our take on next.
This video is brought to you by Skillshare, an online learning community that offers affordable classes designed to fit your schedule and skill level. Skillshare is a great way to tap into a new supportive community that provides encouragement and inspiration. With classes on everything from graphic design to productivity hacks, you'll be immersed in a new creative world. One Skillshare original you can check out right now is Davina Choi's class on learning to knit a scarf. In this beginner class, the Sheep and Stitch founder will break down the 4 fundamental techniques of knitting to kick off the fall season. Right now, Skillshare is offering our viewers a free trial of Skillshare Premium membership, but that's only if you're one of the first 1,000 people to click the link in the description below. So join today and jumpstart your creative journey.